This is not NASA doing this. This is the United States of America doing this program, the Artemis program.
When it comes to space and the exploration of it, there are a few big names out there right now who are going and doing all they can to take humanity back to the stars and potentially start expanding our reach. The two that have been working together the most is that of SpaceX and NASA. NASA is of course the agency that first sent humanity to the moon, and SpaceX is the independent company that helped revitalize the desire to go back into space and potentially colonize Mars. And the two appear to be working together more in the future. Allow us to show you how SpaceX just landed a $2.9 billion NASA lunar landing contract. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 5, the selection. NASA picked Elon Musk SpaceX to receive $2.9 billion to build a lunar lander as part of the Artemis mission to send humans to the moon by 2024, a project they have been working on as a whole for some time. It's a major vote of confidence in SpaceX from NASA, as no other company received money. The contract between NASA and SpaceX was expected to be signed on May 1st. More on that later. 4 astronauts will launch on NASA's Space Launch System aboard the Orion spacecraft. From there, 2 people will then transfer to SpaceX's lunar lander. They'll spend about a week exploring the surface of the moon, then get aboard the lander and head back to Orion. SpaceX will have to do an uncrewed flight of the lander before any humans come aboard though, which if you think about it, it makes sense because this kind of thing isn't one you want to just hope it works out the first time, you know? The SpaceX contract is for an uncrewed flight and a single crewed landing. Subsequent landings will be awarded under a follow-up procurement program. There were 3 major contenders for the project. SpaceX beat out Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, working with a selection of other aerospace companies, and Dianetics, a defense contractor. NASA had previously rewarded all 3 contenders with a combined $967 million to develop lunar lander concepts. In an internal letter to NASA employees obtained by The Verge, Human Lander Selection Program Manager Lisa Watson Morgan says she's very disappointed that information was leaked prior to the event today. "I am sorry you had to find out about it that way as well. NASA was expected to pick 2 companies to receive contracts for the first moon landing mission since the Apollo program, so giving the contract to SpaceX alone is a slap in the face to Blue Origin in particular and its team, which included Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman. And the Commercial Crew program, for instance, both Boeing and SpaceX received contracts. The redundancy gave NASA options in case one of the companies didn't deliver. There is important work for us ahead, just not at the funding levels we initially expected," Morgan wrote in her email. "With only one partner, the number of people who work on the program will also be reduced," she wrote. "The agency chose to award only one partner in order to get the program running quickly. The SpaceX bid was Starship, the next generation spacecraft the company is building in Boca Chica, Texas. It is expected to be able to carry a crew of astronauts and 100 tons of cargo. Starship is supposed to use its main engines to lower itself to a hard surface, such as the moon or Mars. SpaceX has successfully landed Starship once on March 3rd, though it blew up almost immediately afterwards. Another landing attempt on March 30th also ended in flames. But to be clear, it has gone and done more tests afterward. And if you think this is a bad sign, just go ahead and ask NASA about its early shuttle attempts. They ended in flames too. The human landing system is going to allow us to be able to access different parts of the lunar surface," said Kathy Louders, the Associate Administrator for NASA's Human Exploration and Operations Mission Directorate, in a NASA live stream. "It also allows us to explore new technology and capabilities that will help us when we are trying to figure out our next round of technologies to be able to help us land on Mars or other planets out there. The Artemis mission will land the first woman on the moon as well as the first person of color. So far, only white men have walked on the lunar surface. In November, the 18 astronauts who were a part of the Artemis team were introduced. So given all of that, you would think that everything would be kosher and ready to go for building by launch, right? Well, wrong. Number 4, the suspension. NASA has suspended work on SpaceX's new $2.9 billion lunar lander contract while a federal watchdog agency adjudicates 2 protests over the award. Putting the Human Landing System, or HLS, work on hold until the GAO makes a decision on the 2 protests means that SpaceX won't immediately receive its first chunk of the $2.9 billion award, nor will it commence the initial talks with NASA that would normally take place at the onset of a major contract. As you might have guessed, the 2 companies that were in the running for the contract, Blue Blue Origin and Dynetics protested NASA's decision to the Government Accountability Office, which adjudicates bidding disputes. Blue Origin alleges the agency unfairly moved the goalposts at the last minute and endangered NASA's speedy 2024 timeline by only picking SpaceX. Pursuant to the GAO protest, NASA instructed SpaceX that progress on the HLS contract has been suspended until GAO resolves all outstanding litigation related to this procurement, NASA spokeswoman Monica Witt said in a statement. SpaceX's private Starship development will likely continue as SpaceX has their own goals for the craft beyond the moon, as they want to take them to Mars. But there is no doubt that Musk was a bit ticked off that Blue Origin and Dynetics held him up a bit with this. NASA has said picking one company was the best decision it could make at the time with the funds available from Congress. Last year, Congress gave the agency $850 million of the $3.3 billion it requested to procure 2 lunar landers. SpaceX's award was a key first step in a broader program to secure transportation to the moon, NASA's human spaceflight chief Kathy Lueders said at the time, promising the new contract opportunities will open up in the near future. Number 3. Sour grapes? Hearing that protests were made over government contracts is honestly a bit of a weird thing, not the least of which is that this does seem kind of petty, which is why no doubt that there are some that are going to equate this to a certain someone having sour grapes over Elon Musk winning the contract. And that someone is of course Jeff Bezos, who has been a longtime rival of Elon Musk in terms of both business and net worth value. The fact of the matter is that while Blue Origin under Bezos has done well, SpaceX has proven many more times that they are the better independent company, and that no doubt has factored into NASA's decisions regarding them, especially since they have already worked together. Number 2. Collaboration. When SpaceX was initially conceived by Elon Musk, he wanted it solely for the purpose of going and helping get NASA off its butt and get them back into the more modern space race. But then, as he realized he could build things faster and cheaper than NASA without government oversight on his budget, he started doing his own thing, and SpaceX boomed as a result. So much so that NASA has frequently gone and hired them or contracted them to give them vessels to send into space. Not the least of which was the Dragon craft, which has sent all sorts of things to the International Space Station. Because of that, NASA and SpaceX already have a relationship going on. So when they said they could build a lunar lander for cheap compared to the other two, is it really a surprise that NASA took them at their word? Number 1, to the moon. So in overall, is this going to hurt the Artemis project? No, not likely. One way or another, someone is going to build the lander for the Artemis mission. If anything, it's only delayed now by a few weeks. And if SpaceX is determined to still get the contract, that means they're still ahead of the others, as they've been working on their Starship in the meantime. Either way though, it is good to know that NASA is serious about getting back to the moon, as that is something that people have wanted for some time. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the SpaceX landing, and then technically not landing the contract for the lunar lander? Are you shocked that things have gotten a bit complicated with this contract deal? Do you think that once it's sorted out, they'll be able to make the lander that NASA really wants to put people back on the moon? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we will see you next time on the channel.